So good afternoon, everyone. So today, I am working, as everybody know, here. I'm working on active fault mapping project. So today we will see some of the results. Like most of the trend site, everyone have visited, but the final interpretation maybe everyone doesn't know. So we will discuss about the 3D trends which we did along Yangtze Fault, and then the final result of the Chongun fault, which is the separate fault from the sitting in between the Yangtze and Ulsan fault. So directly we'll go to the presentation.
A bit big screen, full screen, please.
Yeah.
All right.
So as we know that Korea is not considered as a as so active in comparison to other plate boundary area, but we have due to the ongoing compression since Pliocene time, so we have the Yangtze Ulsan fault system. So the Yangtze fault is one of the most prominent strike slip fault. Its length about 200 kilometers long, and then Ulsan fault is around a reverse fault, mostly oblique dominant, which length is around 40 kilometers. But if we consider the paleoseismological studies, so there is no there are paleoseismological studies towards understanding the earthquake behavior along Yangtze fault and then Ulsan fault, but there is no study to understand the lateral slip along the Yangtze fault. Also, there are since it's the interplate region, so we have some minor faults sitting between the major faults, which are also active. So we also don't know about the earthquake behavior for those faults like Chongun fault. So along the southeastern Korean peninsula, so we have several faults, so which is considered as a single Yangtze and Ulsan fault system. So today we will discuss about the Yangtze fault, the 3D trends around here, and then the Chongun fault, which is in between the trace of the Ulsan fault and then Yonil tectonic line. So as we know, the geological slip rate for the 3D for the Yangtze fault is not well constant. So to the constant the slip rate for the strike slip fault, generally all around the world they adopt the 3D trends techniques, where we can see the offset landforms like offset stream or of the geological contacts. So so we have selected the one site around the central Yangtze fault, where we can see the a linear valley of around 2 kilometers long, and so and then the valley contains the contact between the two different lithology, granite and the sedimentary rocks. So then before going to the 3D trends, so these are typical strike slip landforms in intraplate tectonic setting. Those are active, but very, very active. Like this fault is the Karakoram fault, where we can see the offset direct during the last rupture. The alluvial fan is offset around few meter, and then this is also the surface rupture of Kulnun earthquake, and then this field photo shows the recent the Kaikoura earthquake, where we can see the braided island of the stream offset, and then this is the 2019 Ridgecrest earthquakes, or where we can see the stream offset directly offsetted by. So our aim was for the 3D trends. So for the 3D trends along Yangtze fault, so we aim to find such feature like what we observed during the Ridgecrest earthquake. So like this so the very famous Wallace Creek, where we can see the continuously during the due to the ongoing deformation, the stream offset. So during one event, the stream offset was like they measured directly 5 meter, and then continuously during two events they found 10 meter. So successively we can find similar evidence for the Yangtze fault, as it is like previous paleoseismological studies suggest that this is one of the active fault. So to find that kind of evidence, so we can we use this kind of approach. Like we can trace we can dig a fault perpendicular trench where we can find the direct evidence of the faulting, and then we can dig the fault parallel trenches on the either side of the fault to trace the offset marker. This diagram I'm showing for the Panama fault, where to first understand how we can perform the 3D trench, and then after performing the trench, we can trace the offset feature and match the channel boundary or channel like the center of the channel, and then connect that points, and then we can measure the offset, how much offset, and then if the fault is displacing the same channel continuously, so we can find multiple offset features. So then we can estimate the slip rate from using the multiple offset features. But if we if we trace or find only one event, like what we observe in the Yangtze fault, so that is we can estimate the slip rate, but that is not going to give the accurate slip rate. So coming to the study area, so so from the like aerial photo and then from the LiDAR image, we can see the very linear trace of the fault. And then from the geological map, we can see the contacts, direct contact between the two different lithology. So that indicates that is the fault. So then there was like a fault perpendicular trench carried out by Busan National University. So what we did, like in the previous study, Song et al, they this trench has been published, but they saw only 3 events. But in this work, we are reanalyzing the previous published trends, and then we are coming up with like at least 5 faulting events from the same trends. And then the most recent event is correlated with the offset channel, which I will show you in the 3D trends. So from in the reinterpretation, so we got like 5 events. So maybe I will zoom the. So the star marks indicate the faulting events. So the first event occurred along the, like we renamed the event 1 to event 5. So event 5 is the oldest one, and event 1 is the youngest one. So considering the previous published ages by Song et al, and then reanalyzing the ages of the OSL ages by comparing the C14 and then the OSL ages. So the last the E5 event, like the oldest event, occurred around 116 to 130 Ka, and then which is covering the unit like 450, and then same in the same fault. So the event 4 occurred along F3, so which is like displacing the 450 unit, but capped by the 400 unit. So, but we don't have the direct edge, like any sample for the 400 units, so we can constrain that timing of the event 4. But considering the oxidation or the boundary between different lithology, so we can interpret that event occurred in the late quaternary, but we don't have the direct edge. So then if we consider the event timing of event 4 and event 5, so there is maybe we are missing many events, because the age range is very high. So that means there are several earthquake events is eroded by due to the ongoing erosion and deposition process. So the earthquake record between event 4 and event 5 is incomplete. So coming to the event 3, so event 3 is it's occurred along F7. And then also during that same event, so F5 and F7 also move together. So all the like how we interpret they are these two fault move together, because they are capping by the same unit 300. So then the age also like we don't have direct evidence for the age of this event. So then coming to the event 2, which is displaced the unit 300 to 250, but the fault same F4 moved here, and then another fault F6. So there is no direct evidence for the same event 2 along F4 and F7 and F6 F5. So these units, this fault is displacing the previous capped unit 300, and then also displacing the upper bound unit, which is we named as 250. So sorry. So then we have we got the age of the event, which is reported by Song et al. Is 17K event. But comparing the OSL and the C14 edges, we consider the minimum. We took the minimum age model. So the age is age of the 17K event. We are reinterpreting it as like 6.8 to 10.4K. And then the most recent event occurred around along the F5, which is capped by the most recent unit. And then so the most recent event is displacing 150 unit number 150. So this 150 unit is important, because we were able to match this unit, the characteristics of this unit in the unit which is displacing the channel. The channel lithology is same as this unit 150. So the most recent event occurred around like 3.2 plus minus 2K, 0.2K. So, and then if we consider the C14 edges, the C14 edges is coming like quite younger. So if we like, it's like we are still debating that which we should consider which edge. So if we consider the C14 edges, it is coming like around 745 AD. Most recent event, we run all the C14 edges in obstacle, and then it is giving us the. So if we take that one, so this most recent event is occurred between the 6th to 8th century, which is one of the considering the error, which may reported as one of the historical earthquake around along the Yangtze Fault. So considering the most recent event, and then we try to trench the fault parallel trench. So this was the red line shows the fault perpendicular trench. So we dug around 9 trenches along the across the fault. So these along these fault parallel trenches. So we can see this blue color. This unit is the unit 150. So then if we match them, so it is showing lateral offset. So then to measure the lateral offset, so we are considering both the channel center and then channel boundary. So if we consider the channel boundary, so it is giving us like 4.5 meter lateral displacement. So if we consider the channel center, so it is give us the 5.3 meter lateral displacement. So point is like so then we reconstruct the retrodeform the channel offset. This is also matching with the channel center is perfectly matched around like, and then it's so 5.3 meter. So this diagram shows like this is the channel boundary. So like this is clear channel shape, like the tip, the boundary of the channel is it's kind of pointed, and then center part is more wide. So then point is like, does the estimated magnitude and then the slip rate is too high for the Yangtze fault, considering the seismicity of historical seismicity or the instrumental seismicity of the Yangtze fault. But if we analyze the different fault systems around the intraplate tectonic setting, so we can get the similar type of displacement during. So I forgot to say that if we consider the 4.5 meter to 5.3 meter displacement, so it can be to considering the Welch and Coppersmith empirical formula for strike slip fault. So the magnitude is coming around 7.1 to 7.2, and then Song et al. They reported considering the slickle lines in the fault perpendicular trains. So the magnitude is coming 6.7, around 6.7 to 6.7, 6.4 to 6.7. So maybe it is a strike slip fault. So the magnitude estimated from the slickle lines may be underestimate the exact magnitude, because the vertical displacement what we are observing in the strike slip fault will not give the exact amount of the vertical displacement, because we have lateral component. So considering the magnitude, so maybe it is more like high. Someone think this will be high, but if we consider the Riku earthquake in Japan, the magnitude 7.2 caused 4.4 meter lateral displacement, and then also some earthquake in like Meckering earthquake in Australia, 6.9 magnitude, but it caused 3.5 meter lateral displacement. Similarly, so if we consider this kind of data, so the estimated the lateral offset during one event is reasonable, quite reasonable. And then also the historical, if we consider the historical seismicity, the magnitude from around the along the Yangtze fault is the historical record suggests 6.4 to 6.7. But the historical records, as we know, that time was based on the damage pattern. So if we not we cannot estimate the or we cannot cover all the damaged area, so we can underestimate the earthquake magnitude. So these are the questions I am struggling with to put what will be the magnitude, and then what was the slip rate. So if we consider the overall paleoseismological studies around the central segment of the Yangtze fault, so it is giving us like 10 to the power 4 the recurrence interval in the scale of 10 to the power 4 year. So then if we consider that recurrence interval and the age of the most recent event, so the slip rate is coming around 0.5 millimeter per year. That is also like quite matching with other intraplate tectonic setting strike slip faults. So then so we think that what we are getting for the lateral displacement and then the slip rate from the 3D trench, so it's quite reasonable for the Yangtze fault. So that is the our result from the 3D trench. So considering the lateral offset, so the most recent earthquake caused around 4.5 to 5.3 meter lateral offset during one event, and then the slip rate is coming 0.5. So if we compare that slip rate to the southern segment, like the recent publication by Moon et al., so they are giving the 0.7 around 0.7 millimeter per year slip rate. So then that is also quite matching well. So coming to the other Chongbundong fault paleoseismological results. So this diagram I am showing why, because if this diagram shows the earthquake behavior in plate boundary. So we can see like episodic earthquake behavior, but when we move to the intraplate, the seismicity jump from one fault to other fault. So then that's why it's always necessary to identify all the active faults in the intraplate tectonic setting for the seismic hazard assessment. So this diagram suggests like there was jumping of like earthquake along the San Andreas fault. So then so the Chongbundong fault is sitting between the, as I previously mentioned, between the trace of the Wilson fault and the Yonville tectonic line. So this that Chongbundong fault, before identifying the like going for the detailed paleoseismological study, so we use the aerial photo and then the digital elevation model prepared from the aerial photo. So from that aerial photo, we can see like series of development of series of alluvial fans, and then on pair terraces, and then those terraces were uplifted. So the elevation profile, like we can see from the elevation profile, the uplifted terraces, so it's around 3 to 5 meter scarp. So then in the previous map, on the basis of the geomorphology, so 2 lineaments were drawn, but I like on the basis of the field evidence, preliminary field evidence, so we found the direct evidence of faulting along the upper lineament, but there was no direct evidence for the fault in the lower lineament. So we think that is related to because if we see there is a stream running parallel to the fault, so maybe when there is like upliftment along the fault, so the stream incides the alluvial fan. So the alluvial fan, the boundary of the alluvial fan looks like lineament. So we exclude this one, and also presently the area is highly modified. So we exclude this lineament from the detailed paleoseismological study. So since we have the direct evidence of faulting in this along this lineament, so we focus on this lineament. So from the detailed geomorphological map also shows the directly like upliftment of the alluvial alluvial fans, and then from the preliminary field we saw direct displacement of the alluvial fan surfaces across the fault. So so the preliminary pit was dug here. So it shows around 76 centimeter displacement of the quaternary deposit along the fault. So then we decided to carry forward more or like further detailed paleoseismological study. So since as everyone know, we have couple of trends here, but I will show this trend because after the trench interpretation and after getting the edge, so other trends shows single event like evidence, because single event evidence, because of the edge constraint, we cannot. Other trenches we were able to constant the recent events. So those events we are getting all the events in this trench only. So we consider those are like secondary ruptures. So but this is the main fault along the main fault. So from the from this trench we can see the on the both side of the fault we have granite, and then this granite is getting uplifted every time except the most recent event. So based on the cross-cutting relationship, so we were able to identify 4 events in this one. The oldest event is having some granite wash deposit, so which is we cannot determine the age. And then the second event is displacing this unit I and unit H, because these are dragged to the granite wash deposit. And then the penalty event occurred around like along the unit G. And then the most recent event occurred unit F. So if we consider the age of these events, so the event 1 we don't know because of the granite wash, and then we cannot determine the age. So event 2 is occurring around 63 plus minus 2 Ka. And then the penultimate event unit G, which is occurred around between 57 to 47 Ka. And the most recent event is occurring around 37 plus minus 4 Ka. And then all the units is covered by a like black color organic deposit, and then after that we don't have any evidences of the fault. So and then if we consider the vertical displacement of 2 meter and the age of the unit, so the vertical displacement rate for this fault is coming around 0.018 plus minus 0.2002 millimeter per year. So and then the Slicken lines indicates this is kind of dextral dextral strike slip fault with some oblique component, as we we can observe from the trench also, because we have some vertical displacement. So coming to the discussion. So Changunang fault is like NW to a southeast trending dextral strike slip fault with some oblique component. And then we observe at least 3 quaternary faulting event. 3 faulting event during the quaternary time, and the most recent event occurs around 37 plus minus 4 Ka. So which indicate the fault is active during the Pleistocene time. And then also considering the paleoseismological evidences, so this we can confirm that this is one of the active fault, and then the length is around 5 kilometer with vertical displacement rate of 0.018 plus minus 0.002 millimeter per year. And then considering the location of the fault, maybe this is a small individual fault, or it's linked with the closely sitting Ulsan fault. So we need further detailed analysis to to understand what is the relationship between the this fault with other fault systems. And then also we must include this fault because this fault is closely located to the historically important city Gyeongju. So and then the length is around 5 kilometers. So we should include this fault in the seismic hazard assessment of the area. So this is all about my presentation. Thank you. And then this slide, we are now working on recent Iran earthquake. So this shows the INSA analysis of the recent 6.4, 6.3 Iran earthquake. We saw maybe both the epicenter of both events is closely located. Maybe we don't know what is the mechanism involved in this. Maybe at the deep, along this one fault, the rupture is occurring, but at the depth maybe they are segmented or something like that. Thank you.